Wilson into right center field, hit it Todd. This baby is way back. Out of here.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Humm Baby Baseball channel, and Hall of Fame Day is among us, and it's time to find out who's getting in and who's not, and I can't wait. But first, I gotta reveal my ballot, which is not a real ballot. I don't have a vote, but if I did have a vote, this is how I would do it, and I'm gonna explain all my votes, and I actually have a full ballot of 10 names, so let's get into it with the first pick, and it's the obvious pick. Let's just be real. He's getting in, and he deserves it, and that's Derek Jeter. We are talking about Mr. November, Rookie of the Year. 7 times he was in the top 10 for MVP, and in his 20-year career, he had a .310 career average, 14 All-Star games. He was the World Series MVP in 2000. He's getting in easily, and he absolutely deserves it. Derek Jeter, he is definitely the first name on my ballot. Next on my ballot is going to be Omar Vizquel, one of the greatest defensive shortstops in the history of the game, and he had an unbelievable career that spanned 24 years. And as one of my commenters said in my Hall of Fame Omar Vizquel video, you don't stay in the league 24 years unless you are a stud, and that's what he was. And that guy could also hit. He didn't strike out much. He put the ball in play, but at short, he was absolutely amazing, an absolute wizard, an absolute artist out there. So smooth, so graceful, the way he could turn double plays, diving plays. I mean, I don't know how he's not getting more support. Omar Vizquel, to me, is definitely in, no questions asked. Next up on my ballot is maybe the first controversial selection, and that is Curt Schilling. First of all, I don't care about his tweets. I don't care about his political stance. None of that matters when you're talking about a person's major league career. How did he do in his major league career? And he was absolutely phenomenal. 3 times he was second in the Cy Young voting, 6-time All-Star, 216 career wins, but he is known for postseason domination, 11-2 with a 2.23 ERA and 19 starts. He was the co-MVP in the 2001 World Series with Randy Johnson. National League Championship Series MVP in '93 with Philly. 20-year career. He also had longevity. He's got the stats. He's got the postseason accolades. He's got the awards. The guy is a Hall of Famer. Whether you like him or not, whether you like his political stance or his tweets, should not matter. It does not matter. I'm sorry. You got the Chess Hall of Fame that has Bobby Fischer in it. If you know anything about chess, Bobby Fischer is one of the greatest chess players and the greatest American chess player to ever play the game. When 9/11 happened, this guy was celebrating and said it was some of the most wonderful news he ever heard. That guy's in the Hall of Fame. Why? Because he was an amazing chess player. That's what that Hall of Fame celebrates. It doesn't celebrate how great a person you are. I'm not saying Curt Schilling's a bad person, but I'm just saying people don't like him for his tweets and his political opinions and his crazy things that he says. That's great. Don't like him, okay? Block him on Twitter, call him an idiot, and put him in the Hall of Fame. Next up is a former Giant and one of the greatest, if not the greatest hitting second baseman in the history of the game. Jeff Kent has got to get in the Hall. Trivia question. How many seasons did Jeff Kent have 100+ RBI? 9. Question 2. Who had more extra base hits? Jeff Kent or Mickey Mantle? Answer, Jeff Kent. Who had more home runs? Jeff Kent or Babe Ruth? Okay, that one's Babe Ruth, okay? But Jeff Kent did have more doubles than the Babe. He had more doubles than Eddie Murray and Chipper Jones and A-Rod and Derek Jeter and Lou Gehrig and Ted Williams and Willie Mays. He was a doubles machine. He was the MVP in 2000. More home runs than any second baseman in the history of the game. 290 career average, but he hit 300 with runners in scoring position. He was clutch. He hit great in the postseason. 4 Silver Sluggers. Some of the advanced stats say he wasn't the greatest second baseman defensively. No problem. You know what? As far as I'm concerned, when you watched him from the eye test, he looked great. He made diving plays. He was really quick at turning the double play. He was smooth. He looked fine. Did he make some errors? Sure. Was he the greatest defensive second baseman ever? No. But when you put those offensive stats out there and you look at what he accomplished over his career, I mean, I'm sorry. I got to put him in. Jeff Kent's in, and that's all there is to that. Next up is going to be Larry Walker, and he oftentimes was the best player out on the field when he was on the field. This guy was sick. This guy put up numbers, and I know he played a lot of his games in Denver, and he gets heat for that, like as if he was on steroids or something. Oh, his stats are enhanced. I'm sorry, I'm not going to subscribe to that theory. There's a major league team in Denver. That's where they play their games. He can't help it. You can't hold it against him. Besides, when you're hitting 340 and 350 every year, well, you're obviously hitting on the road also. So it's not like the guy couldn't hit. And he also hit well with the Expos before he went to Denver. The guy is awesome, and the guy was a great hitter. And he was an elite defender. 7 Gold Gloves. 5-time All-Star, including one with Montreal. He was the National League MVP in 97. And let me tell you this, from 1997 to 2002, this is a 7-year stretch, he hit 344. Like I said, you don't just hit 344 over 7 years without hitting on the road. Even in his last year, his retirement year in 2005, he hit 289 with the Cardinals. He still was a pretty good hitter all the way up till the end. He was just all around great. He could hit for power. His average was insane, and he was great defensively, winning Gold Glove after Gold Glove. What do you want? I got Larry Walker in the Hall of Fame. Number 6 is going to be a surprise, and we're talking about Scott Rolen. He was Rookie of the Year in 97, and he could also field like it was nobody's business. 8 Gold Gloves. He won his first in 1998 and his last in 2010. That is called longevity. One of the best third basemen ever. He hit over 20 home runs in 9 of his first 10 years. He might not have been as powerful as Mike Schmidt, but he was powerful. He was a big, strong guy who was amazing defensively. 7-time All-Star. And like I said, he wins Rookie of the Year in 97, and then 15 years later in 2011 with Cincinnati, he's an All-Star. Again, longevity, it's really important, and this guy had it, and he was good defensively. He was sick offensively. Career WAR, wins above replacement, 70.2. That is better than Gary Carter, Tony Gwynn, Eddie Murray, all in the Hall of Fame. I got Scott Rolen going in. Next on my list, and this might also be a surprise, but again, I think offensively and defensively. There's 2 sides to this game. It doesn't mean you can't get in if you were not good defensively. But when you were great on both sides for an extended period of time, I'm going to look really closely at you. And I'm looking really closely at Andruw Jones. Let me say something before we even get into the offensive stats of Andruw Jones, and that is 10 consecutive Gold Gloves. Consecutive, key word. 5-time All-Star, and for a 7-year span, from 2000 through 2006, this man averaged 37 home runs a year, including 51 in 2005, which would have been an MVP year for him if it weren't for another guy who was an absolute machine out there, and that was Albert Pujols in his prime. So Andruw Jones very well could have won an MVP with that 51 home run year, but he was just bombing home runs left and right for a long period of time, and is one of the best defensive center fielders ever. Definitely the best I've ever seen. 434 career bombs. Yes, he had some very mediocre years before he retired from 2008 through 2012. He was not putting up Hall of Fame numbers anymore. He had a career 62.8 wins above replacement, better than Vlad Guerrero, Jackie Robinson, Harmon Killebrew, Yogi Berra. These guys are all Hall of Famers, and then a future Hall of Famer in Ichiro, and I could go on and on about other players who that's better than, but you get the point. It's too bad he had those tough years at the end. If he was still even pretty good, I think he'd be in, but those last few years really hurt his chances, but I still got him on my ballot. Andruw Jones, you're in. Next is a guy who I put on my ballot right at the end because I had 9 names, and I put this guy on my ballot for one reason and one reason only, and that's because I don't want him to fall off the ballot. Now, I don't have a real vote, but this is as if I did have a real vote. And if I had a real vote, I would throw this guy on my ballot since I had an extra spot, just because I do not want him to fall off the ballot because he is not getting any Hall of Fame support. I mean 0, and that's Paul Konerko. You're thinking, Paul Konerko? Let me tell you what, no, he didn't win any Gold Gloves or MVPs, and twice he was in the top 10, but he did accumulate 439 bombs. 14 of his first 15 years, he had at least 20 home runs, maxing out at 41 in 2004, and he hit 40 in 2005. American League Championship MVP in 2005. But I want you to take a look at this. And I borrowed this from MLB Network, so giving them proper credit. Comparing Konerko to a few Hall of Famers here in Cepeda, Bagwell, McCovey, you can see hits, he's right there. Home runs, he's right there. RBI, he's right there. OPS, he's pretty much right there. A little bit short of Cepeda, but he's there. This guy was a great hitter for a long period of time, and he is a Chicago White Sox legend. And, you know, the fact that he might fall off the ballot is absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. He can't even get 5% of the vote, and I get it. I mean, if nobody wants to vote for him, if everyone feels he's, you know, not quite deserving, they're not going to vote for him, and he falls off. Part of that is that 10-guy limit. Like, how can you control how many guys they want to vote for in any given year, and then you say you fall off the ballot if you don't get 5%? The way the system is, a guy like Konerko, who might get elected in 5-6 years, well, he's going to fall off the ballot. And it's a guy I'd like more years to consider, but you're not going to get more years to consider because he's going to fall off. And that's why I got him on at the end of the day. Not an all-around, like, great Hall of Fame caliber player maybe, but damn, I mean, I'd like to consider him a few more years. And so just to try to keep him on the ballot, I got him on my ballot, even though I don't really have a ballot. Konerko, you're on my ballot, man. You're in, baby. Now it's time for my last 2 slots, and I got to face the music. It's time to face the critics who don't want anyone having anything to do with PEDs in the Hall of Fame. And I understand that, but at the same time, I don't follow that philosophy that anyone is just completely, absolutely banned, in my opinion, unless the Hall of Fame says they're banned. The Hall of Fame determines who's ineligible, not me. If they say they're eligible and they're on the ballot, I feel it's my job, if I'm a voter, to give them consideration. All things considered, I won't just say, no, PEDs, gone, forget. No, he's on the ballot. You got to give consideration, but doesn't mean you ignore the fact that they use PEDs. I don't ignore that fact. That is not only a blemish against them, but it's definitely a reason not to vote if the reason they have career Hall of Fame numbers is because of the PEDs, and that's right there what it boils down to. So I take a look at guys like Jose Canseco, Mark McGwire, you know, Palmeiro, guys like that, Sosa, and I decide, you know what, I'm not so sure these guys are Hall of Famers without the PED use, therefore, I'm not going to vote for them. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, who are my last 2 guys on the ballot, are a different story. They were 100%, absolute, hands down Hall of Famers before they touched steroids. If they would have never touched steroids, they'd be in, no questions asked. I'm sorry. Roger Clemens, before 97 when he went to the Toronto Blue Jays, and it was apparently using steroids around that time, before that time, he was a 5-time All-Star, 3 Cy Youngs, an MVP, and get this, 100 complete games. Let that sink in for a minute. Before he started using steroids, 100 complete games, 38 shutouts. He was the best pitcher of that era, not even close, before steroids. So this guy retires in 1997, 98 or whatever, plays a couple of mediocre years and then retires. He's in. Pure and simple. That's why he's on my ballot. This guy was a generational player, just absolutely amazing pitcher with the Red Sox. I don't care if he's a jerk. I don't care about anything else. He's in for me. Barry Bonds, yes, I'm a Giants fan, and he was one of my favorite players, but you know what? It has nothing to do with it. I don't approve of Barry Bonds using steroids. I'm not happy that he has the home run records, single season, and I wish it was still Roger Maris, and I wish it was still Hank Aaron for the career record. I really do. But that has nothing to do with this. The fact of the matter is, Barry Bonds was the best player in the game for a long period of time before he ever touched steroids. Barry Bonds had 3 MVPs before he ever touched steroids. Barry Bonds had 8 All-Star selections. Barry Bonds had 8 Gold Gloves. Barry Bonds stole, 300 plus bases. Barry Bonds was absolutely a Hall of Famer, no questions asked. Not only was he a Hall of Famer, he was one of the greatest. One of the greatest. It is no surprise that when he started using steroids, he became a freaking cyborg. It's no surprise he became a video game because he was so good before. And it's a shame that he decided to use the steroids. I will agree to that. And I'm really disappointed about that, but it did happen. And I'm not going to even say his career numbers because they don't really matter. The bottom line is he is an absolute Hall of Famer, and he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame just for how good he was, how hard he worked, how many years he put forward. This is a museum. This is not the museum of moral people, or this is not heaven. This is nothing like that. It is a museum that people will go in to see some of the greats of all time. And in 50 years, 100 years, and 200 years, when we're dead, people go in there. Roger Clemens should have a plaque. Bonds should have a plaque. That's my ballot right there. And that's the 10 names, and I'm sticking to it. A couple names I want to give a quick explanation why they're not on my ballot. Billy Wagner was great. He was a great closer for a long time. I considered him, but his postseason performance was just terrible. He just got lit up in the postseason. So I'm just going to hold off on voting for Billy Wagner. When you have an ERA over 10 in like 7 different seasons, you made it to the postseason, when you get completely lit up like a Christmas tree, I can't put you in Hall of Fame just yet unless your career was just absolutely insane, which it wasn't. It was a great career, but nothing insane. So that's why he's not on my ballot. And Todd Helton, I'm really thinking about. I decided to leave him off for now just because some of his numbers, his career WAR, his career OPS plus, some of those, stats, when you stack them up to Hall of Famers, he's a little down there in some of those numbers, but he was a great player for a long period of time. I really want to vote for Todd Helton. I really felt like voting for Todd Helton. I would vote for Todd Helton, but I just decided to hold off. So there's my ballot. And last note, I want to just say, I know people are going to say, man, the Hall of Fame's all watered down. The Hall of Fame has never been for the absolute Babe Ruthian type best of the best only. It's always been a place, if you have a long career, 18, 19 plus years, you put up great numbers, you're going to get in. That's how it always was. There's guys in the Hall of Fame, whether it's Luke Appling, whoever, you go up through time and you'll see, guys who seem to be not that great, but they get in. And all of a sudden it's like you got to be like the best of the best of the best only. It's never been that way. Yes, you got to be the best of the best, but not the best of the best of the best of the best of the best, like absolute studs only. You can have a career like Jeff Kent, and you should get in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. But we'll see how the vote goes, and that goes for Vizquel too and everyone else on my list. I think they're deserving. They get my vote, and I'm considering other names for future years, and we'll talk about it again in a year from now. We'll talk about next year's, and maybe I'll put in other guys who I didn't vote for this year. So let me know below what you guys think. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully this video didn't get too long. I'm gonna try to get it down as short as I can because I know I don't like super long videos, but I had to give my ballot. Hall of Fame Day is here. Can't wait to find out what happens. I'll have a reaction on it either tonight or tomorrow. We'll react to the Hall of Fame election. Is Bonds getting in? Oh my gosh. Is Clemens getting in? Oh my gosh. Who's getting in? It's going to be insane. Is Jeff Kent going to make it? And in his last year of eligibility, is Larry Walker, is he getting in or not? Woo! It's insane. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Y'all have a fantastic day. Hit the subscribe button. We will talk to you next time. See ya!
When the Giants come to town, it's 5